Hey, so in C++, under the decision control statements category, we have multiple decision control statements. So let me quickly tell you what are the different decision control statements that are available in C++. So the first statement that we are going to learn in this video is if statement. This is one of the decision control statement in C++. Then we have if else statement. Then we have if else if ladder, and then finally we have switch case statement. So these are the four valid or available statements which comes under decision control statement category in C++. If statement, if else statement, if else if ladder, and switch case statement. Now these statements are not just unique to C++. You go to any programming language, you will find all these statements in each and every programming language. You go to Python, JavaScript, any programming language, you will find these kind of statements in each and every programming language. That's why it's very important to know them properly to understand how they work. Okay, now what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to explain you if statement. We're going to take some examples. We're going to see how if statement works. Okay, so let's first start with the syntax of if statement. Then I'll tell you one example, or I'll tell you two examples, and then I'll tell you how if statement actually works. Okay, and then we'll write some codes for the if statement. So that is my plan for this video. So let's first understand the syntax of if statement. It's super easy. What you have to do is you have to write if keyword, okay, followed by, in parentheses or in circular brackets, you have to write an expression. Now this expression can be any expression. It can be an assignment expression, it can be a arithmetic expression, it can be a relational expression, it can be a logical expression, it can be any expression. You have to write expression in the parentheses, and after writing if followed by an expression, you have to write if body. Okay, now this part of the syntax is actually called as if header. So let me write it over here. This is called as if header, and then after writing if header, you have to write if body. Now this is very important. See, if body can be either a simple statement or it can be a compound statement. So in if body, either you can write a simple statement or you can also write a compound statement. Now let's see one example, and then I'll tell you how this if statement works in C++. Let's say I'm creating two variables a and b, where a is having value as 1 and b is having value as 4. Okay, now what I have written, see, focus very carefully what I have written in the if statement. So I have written if keyword followed by, in parentheses, I have written the condition. What is my condition? My condition is a greater than b. So this is my condition. I'll say this is my expression. Okay, this is a relational expression that I'm writing this time, right? And what is my if body? My if body is this cout statement. This is one simple statement. Okay, so as I have told you, in if body you can either write a simple statement or you can write a compound statement. In this example, I am writing a simple statement in the if body. Correct? Now let's see the second example. In the second example, again I have the same variables with same value, that is 1 and 4. In the expression, what I have written is, I have changed the expression in this case. The expression is now b greater than equal to a. Again, it's a relational expression only. Okay, so the expression is b greater than equal to a, and in this case, instead of writing a simple statement as if body, I have written a compound statement. Correct? How you write a compound statement? You enclose the statements in curly braces. See, in compound statement, you can also write a single statement. It's not compulsory that in curly braces you have to write more than 2 statements. It's not compulsory. You can even write a single statement. That's also fine. Okay. So in this case, I have written a compound statement as the if body. So I hope now you are clear on the syntax of if statement. Now let's understand how the if statement works. So what happens when compiler comes across the if statement? So what compiler does is, from compiler first evaluates your expression. Whatever you are writing over here, compiler is first going to evaluate your expression. So in this case, my expression is a greater than b. What is going to be the result of this expression? See, in this case, my a is 1 and b is 4. 1 greater than 4, this condition is false, right? So we know that relational expression give us output as 1 or 0. If the expression is true, then we are going to get 1 as the output. If expression is false, then we are going to get 0 as the output. In this case, the expression is false, so output of this expression is going to be 0, correct? So writing a greater than b is very similar to writing if 0. I hope you are getting this thing, right? Because a greater than b, when this expression is going to be evaluated, its result is 0 only, correct? In this case, I am directly writing 0. So writing a greater than b or writing if 0 is ultimately same only, because a greater than b is also giving us 0 as the output once it gets evaluated. Now what happens is, first the expression is evaluated. If expression is having, or I'll say result of expression is having a non-zero value or truthy value, then the body of if statement will be evaluated. If the result of expression is having a falsy value, then if body is not evaluated, it's not executed. So let's quickly revise. See, this expression will be evaluated first. If this expression evaluates to true, then this if body will be executed. If this expression evaluates to false, then this if body will not be evaluated. And that's why it's called as decision statement. Now if you remember the definition of decision statement, we have seen that we use decision statement to decide order of execution, correct? Based on some conditions. So this is something which is happening over here. See, if this condition is true, then this is going to be executed. If this condition is false, then this is not going to be executed. So in this case, for this example, what is going to happen? In this case, as this condition is false, as this expression is generating 0 as the output, this statement will not be executed, and that means a greater than b will not be printed on the screen. Now let's move to the next example, that is example 2. In this case, what is the condition, or what is the expression? The expression is b greater than equal to a. Now in this case, my b is 4. 4 is greater than equal to 2. This expression is going to give us 1 as the output. Why? Because 4 is greater than 2. This condition results in true output. That's why we are going to get 1 as the output, which is a non-zero value. And whenever we are getting true as the output or true as the result of this expression, in that case what is going to happen? If body will be evaluated. So in this case, what is going to happen? In this case, body of if statement is going to be executed, and that's why in this case b is greater than or equal to a will be printed on the screen. So now I hope you are clear on how if statement works in C++, how compiler executes the if statement. I hope you are clear on this part. Let's quickly revise. See, first expression is going to be executed by the compiler. If expression results into true output, what is true? Any non-zero number is true, right? So if expression evaluates to true as the output, in that case if body will be executed. If expression evaluates to false as the output, then in that case if body will not be executed. If body can be either a simple statement or it can be a compound statement. Now guys, always remember, writing if body as a compound statement is always recommended. It's always better to write your if body in terms of a compound statement. Why? Because it gives more readability. See, in this case you can easily identify that this is the if body, because you can see it's surrounded by curly braces. So the program becomes more readable. There are less chances of making some programmatic mistakes, some small silly mistake if you use compound statement as compared to simple statement. So even if you want to write only one statement in the if body, still it's recommended that you put that statement in a block and make it as a compound statement. Now let me tell you one interesting thing. So in this example, what we have done is we have written a single if statement. What we can also do is we can also write multiple if statements. So let's see example of that as well. So you can write something like this, and this is also valid, or this is also, I'll say this is also used multiple times, or most of the times whenever you are going to write the program. So you can write one if statement which is going to have some expression, then you can write its body, followed by you can write another if statement again with some expression, then its body. You can write multiple if statements. See, this is not a different syntax, this is the same syntax that we just discussed. So we have to write if keyword followed by expression followed by if body. The only difference over here is I'm writing multiple if statement one after another. There is nothing special about this concept, but usually we use this multiple times. So let me give you one example. Let's say you have two numbers, again a and b, where a is having some value and b is having some value. So what I've done over here, see, just try to interpret this program. So I have written three different if statements. In the first if statement, what is my expression? Focus on my expression. My expression is a greater than b. So read this statement properly. See the first statement is if a greater than b, then see out a is greater than b. If a is equal to b, then see out a and b are equal. If b is greater than a, then see out b is greater than a. So basically, if you have to write such kind of program where you have multiple conditions to check, then you can write it like this. Okay, so over here we have two variables a and b. We have to check which variable is greater, or we have to check the relationship between them. So whether a is greater than b, or whether both of them are equal, or whether b is greater than a, then in that case we can write the program in this way. Focus on the condition. See, it's totally dependent on the condition. Conditions play the major role in if statements, or I'll say any decision statement, because you know the execution depends on the condition, correct? So in this case, what is going to happen? If a is greater than b, if this condition is true, then this line is going to be printed on the screen. Okay. Again, the compiler will go ahead and compiler will check the condition of this if statement. What is the expression of this if statement? A equal to b. If this expression is true, then this line will be printed, or this body of if statement will be executed. Again, compiler is going to go ahead and check this if statement. Again, this if statement is also having some expression. If this expression results into true, then this body will be executed. So in this way, the code is going to be executed. In this way, the compiler is going to execute the code. I hope you are clear on this part, how we can write multiple if statement and how compiler executes the code, how compiler decides the flow of execution. It's very simple. For each and every if statement, it's going to check its expression, it's going to evaluate the expression. If expression evaluates to true, then it's going to execute the if body. If expression evaluates to false, then it's not going to evaluate, or it's not going to execute the if body. That easy it is. Also, whenever we write program using if statement, it's very readable. So if you read it properly, you will get complete idea about that program, what that program is going to do. So read it with me. If a is greater than b, then cout a is greater than b. You can quickly get meaning of this program code or code snippet, right? So basically we are saying that if a is greater than b, then print a is greater than b on the screen. That is it is. Again, if a is equal to b, print a and b are equal on the screen. If b is greater than a, then print b is greater than a on the screen. So you can easily read the program and you will get complete idea about what that program is going to do. That is it is, that is the syntax it is in C++ programming language. So I hope you are enjoying if statement in C++. Now what we'll do is we'll write one program using if statement. So let's take one simple program that we have already done. Let's accept one number from the user and let's check whether it is even or not. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll create one variable int number. Let's take that number as an input from the user. So I'll just first ask the user to enter a number. So I'll write cout enter a number, and then let's accept it from the user. So I'll write cin number. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to print even on the screen if the entered number is even. So let's do that. So what I'll do is I'll write one if statement. Then in the if statement, we have to write a condition. Now what is the condition to check whether a given number is even? So the condition is very easy. We know this condition. So if number mod 2, if this is equal to 0, that means the given number is even number. So if this condition is true, then what we have to do? We have to print even on the screen. So I write cout even. That's it, that is it is. Okay, now let's quickly compile and execute this code. So I'll just quickly go to my compiler and let's quickly compile this code. So I'll write g++, my file name is ifstatement.cpp. Okay, and let's quickly execute this code. So it's now asking us a number. Let's enter 10 and focus on the output. You can see in this case I'm entering 10, I'm getting even as the output. Okay, now let's execute this again and let's enter, let's say, some odd numbers. Let's enter 11. In this case, you can see nothing is getting printed on the screen. Why nothing is getting printed? Because this cout will be executed only if this expression is executing to true. Only if this expression is evaluating to true. Now whenever the number is even, this expression is going to give us true as the output. It's going to give us 1 as the output. Why it's going to give us 1 as the output? Because whenever the number is an even number, number mod 2 will be 0, 0 equal to 0, this condition is going to be true and we are going to get 1 as the output. And whenever the number is odd number, in that case this expression is going to evaluate to false. Now whenever expression evaluates to false, what happens? this if statement doesn't get executed, and that's the reason whenever we are entering an odd number, nothing is getting printed on the screen. So I hope now you are clear on how if statement is getting executed. I also show you one simple code by which I think now you have got clarity about how the if statement gets executed in C++. Always remember, it's very simple to remember. Whenever the expression is true, when an expression evaluates to true, then and then only if body is going to be executed, otherwise it's not going to be executed. Now whatever you write in the if body gets executed, okay, if the expression is true or expression evaluates to true. Whatever you write outside of the if body is always going to be executed, correct? So let's say if I write some trash over here, let's say something like this, okay, and let's quickly compile and execute this code again. Now in this case, doesn't matter what is the number, doesn't matter whether it is an even number or an odd number, always it's going to be printed. I mean, this line is always going to be evaluated, because this line is not a part of if body, it is outside of the if body. So whatever condition we are writing, whatever if statement we are writing, it just controls the execution of if body. It doesn't control anything outside of the if body. This is very important. So whenever you write any condition over here, if that condition is true, then this body will be executed. If that condition is false, then this body will not be executed. That's it. It's not going to control what is there after this body. It's not going to control that part. This is very important to remember. Okay. Now I want to show you one interesting thing. Tell me what will be the output if I make one small change in the syntax. So what I will do is, after this if header, this is if header, right? And this is my if body. So what I'll do is, after this if header, I'll write one semicolon. Focus very carefully. You can expect this kind of question in your MCQ test. So this is very important. Now tell me what will be the result if I enter my number as 10. What will be the result? And tell me what will be the result if I enter my number as 11. Okay, so let me write output possibilities over here. So if I enter number as 10, so in that case, maybe I'll get output as even followed by this trash. And if I put number as 11, then maybe I should get the same output. This is one possibility. If I enter number as 10, then maybe I should get output as just this trash. And if I enter number as 11, maybe I should get output as this just trash. So tell me what you think is going to be the output of this code if I enter 10. Let's first focus on even number. What will be the output if we enter an even number? So let's try that. So I'll just clear the terminal. Now let's compile this code and let's quickly execute it. Let's enter 10 as the input, 10 as the number. Let's see what we get as the output. So we are getting even followed by the trash. Okay, so I hope this was your expected output for even number. Okay, so in this case, this is the correct output, right? So I'll just write star over here because this is the correct output for 10. Now the interesting thing is with 11. Let's see what we get as the output for 11. So I'll just execute it again and let's enter 11 in this case. Ideally we should get this as the output, correct? This one as the output. Let's see what we are getting. You can see we are getting even followed by trash as the output. Why it is happening? It's happening because the mistake that we have done in the program, or this additional semicolon that we have written in the program. Now how this program is executing? See, we know that semicolon is nothing but a null statement. This is called as null statement, correct? I'll write it like this. This is a null statement. And what null statement is going to do? Null statement is just an empty statement. It has no meaning. Compiler doesn't even care about it because it has no meaning. But in this case, what you are writing is, as the if body, you are writing a null statement. So in this case, what is your if body? See, this is not your if body in this case. In this case, your if body is this. That is the null statement. So you can see it's a huge difference. Previous program and this program is very different because in this case, this is not your if body, this is your if body. So if this condition is true, then this statement is going to be executed, which is not going to, change anything, or it is not going to change the output because it has literally, it's an empty statement. So doesn't matter if this gets executed or not, we are not going to get any change in the output. Okay, and this thing is going to be executed, doesn't matter whether your number is even or odd, because this is not the part of the if statement. And that's why whether your number is even or odd, doesn't matter, this block is getting executed followed by this cout statement, and that's why every time we are giving any number as the input, we are getting even followed by this random string that we have entered. Okay, so that's why whenever you are writing a syntax of if statement, it's very important to write it properly. If you give semicolon after this, after the if header, then the meaning gets changed. I hope you are clear on this part. So whenever you write semicolon after the if header, then semicolon becomes your if body, because that's how the syntax of if statement is designed, right? You have to write if header followed by if body, and if body can be either a simple statement or a compound statement. Now in this case, this semicolon is a simple statement, it's a single statement, it's a simple statement, so that is treated as the if body by the compiler, and that is executed if the condition is true, that is not executed if the condition is false, but it doesn't make any difference. And this thing over here is always going to be executed, doesn't matter what is your condition.